Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of IIT Dhanbad Startup Stories. I'm your host, Rakesh Soni, Mining Machinery 2006, and our guest today is Swati Pandey, co-founder and CEO of Arboreal. Today, we're going to learn about her story, about her startup, and we're going to get some valuable tips for fellow entrepreneurs. Welcome to the show, Swati.
Thank you so much, sir. Pleasure.
Awesome. So Swati, I came to know about you recently through our ISM event we had a couple of months ago. So tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background from ISM days, and
Right.
Let the audience know a little bit about you.
Right. So I'm 2010 mechanical graduate from ISM. And after that, I went on to work with Halliburton for about a year. And then I went to Imperial College London. I did my MSc in sustainable energy there. I was also a Commonwealth scholar there. And after that, I kind of shifted to investment management space. I worked in London at Al Gore's fund called Generation Investment Management. It's a $7 billion fund focused on sustainability, founded by Al Gore. And then I moved to India for a short period where I worked with a venture capital fund called Infuse Ventures. It was at that time India's first fund focused on sustainable energy. So I worked with them for about 3 months at that time. They were still setting it up. So those were very early days, 2013. And then I moved to Singapore, worked with DNVGL, which is also world's largest consulting firm when it comes to sustainable energy. So I joined their team in Singapore, worked with them for about 2 years. And 2015, I decided to quit my job and come back to India to essentially work on this business full time. So yeah, that's a long and short of it.
Oh, so you said you're 2010 graduate. So you entered in IIT Dhanbad.
2006.
Okay, so I graduated in 2006, so probably missed by 2 months.
No overlap, yeah.
All right, well, glad to meet you now. And so you said you're from mechanical department, right?
Yeah.
So at your time, the mechanical and mining machinery was the same department, is that right?
It was the same department, yes.
And who was the HOD when you left?
PK Sarkar. I'm not sure if, he must have been there when during your days as well, right?
Yeah, I think we studied TOM, theory of mechanics, and or most mechanics of solids. I think that's what
he used to teach mechanics of solids. Correct.
Yeah, that's what we studied from. All right, awesome. And when did you visit ISM last time?
So it was recent, actually. Last year, 2019 February. Feb. This was during Basant. I was invited as a speaker for one of the panel discussions that they organized. And I also happened to meet Amit Sinha sir there again, which was great. And had a chance to interact with the students, and they took me around and they showed me around the campus, which has changed a lot. It's been 10 years. So it was a wonderful experience.
Oh, wow. Well, I did not visit, campus yet. I mean, after the graduation. So what are the things that have changed, at least from your time to recent visit a few months ago?
Right. So when we entered the lecture hall complex, LHC was a new construction. I'm not sure if it was there during your time.
Yeah. Our time, I think
it was probably being built.
Yeah. We took 1 or 2 classes in LHC.
Right. So that was kind of the newest kind of construction on campus at that time. But this time when I went, there are like so many new complexes. There is a SAC for student activities, and there is also a swimming pool, like a proper tennis court, and all those things that were not there earlier. I remember when I went to the campus the last time. I and Amit Sinha sir, we were all like going with the students, and they were showing us around. And we went to SAC, right? And it was probably like a 6 or 7 story building, right? And there was a lift, and we was, standing in the lift. And we were just talking about, what do you do in the lift or something related to the lift. And the students asked us that how were you guys doing it at that time? And we were both looking at each other and we were like, there were no lifts, there was no building that had, 7 floors, and we never needed a lift
Yeah.
in the campus. So yeah, it has changed significantly.
All right, sounds like fun. And I think they also acquired some other additional land, and campus has expanded
Yeah,
quite a bit since then.
yeah, probably.
Awesome. All right, good kind of update about ISM. Switching gears a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, right? So how, you studied as an engineer, then you've done your master's degree, and then you work for some very reputable firms, and then you decide to quit and start your own business. So like, what was the motivation? How did it get started?
Right. So the motivation was very personal. My mother has been a diabetic for the last 25 years. So she has been a severe diabetic, and I have seen her struggle, from very close quarters. So the product that we work on, which is stevia, it's a zero calorie natural sweetener. I felt like, as a product, it had a potential to actually change lives of many people like my mother, right? Millions of people who are diabetic and are struggling with diabetes. More than 550 million people globally have diabetes. And not just that, obesity has become, an epidemic around the world. Children are getting obese, and one of the main culprits there is sugar. So this was a product that had, that potential to actually make a difference to millions of lives. And I have always been somebody, for whom more than the what and the how, it's the why that has always mattered, right? So I'm not somebody who would just do something or a business just for the sake of making money. Having a purpose and being able to make a difference in the world was always very important for me. So that was a very personal motivation. And like I said, the impact has always been very important. And since this is a natural product and it comes from a plant, there was also a huge potential to actually make a difference to farmers' lives. We always kept discussing that how India has this huge bioeconomy potential, right? But somehow our farmers have not been able to, benefit out of it. So we just felt that this was a business and this was a product that could really make a difference to the lives of many people, the farmers as well as our end consumers. And the third part was that I was always very clear that I would never get into a me too venture, right? So I would not just do something that has already been done and it has been very successful, so let's just do it again in India or in a different setting. So I would never do anything like that. So when we started studying, stevia in the industry more and more, we realized that there was still a lot of scope for innovation. There was a lot that could be done in terms of supply chain, in terms of technology, in terms of improving the taste. So everything that I really cared about, kind of came together. So it made perfect sense to kind of leave my job and jump into it full time.
No, that's pretty interesting. So, having some personal touch, and kind of seeing the impact of, you said your mom has been diabetic. But how did you end up into the idea? Like, what made you to, how did you started the business? Because I know you participated in certain, startup competition, and that's where the idea started developing. So tell me a little about that, the genesis of Arboreal.
Right. So it has been a long process actually. It all started in 2011 when I was still studying at Imperial. And I happened to attend the summer school organized by the European Union, where they invited students from different European universities. And the idea was to basically expose these students to the world of entrepreneurship. And that was the first time I had really any exposure to entrepreneurship or the world of business. I mean, I was a technical person, I was doing an MSc and was probably planning to go for a PhD after that. But like I said, the impact has always been very important for me. And I realized during that program that actually by doing a startup or, doing something of your own, you could actually amplify that impact, by many folds. And I kind of compared that with, the other scenario in which I would have gone for a PhD, and I realized that, it would probably make more sense to actually, implement those things rather than just maybe writing thesis or papers. So that is how that is where it all started. That is where Arboreal was also born. We were initially a team of 5 people from 5 different countries. But then the team disbanded, and then as time went by, the business idea got more and more evolved as I started studying the industry more and more. And it was a slow and steady process for me. And in 2015, yeah, when I was like very sure about, what I wanted to do, I finally decided to quit my job and do it full time.
Yeah, I think the evolution of idea is what I would say most of the entrepreneurs goes, and
Yeah.
A lot of them even not pivot as they kind of get started their business and learn more about industry. So that's cool.
Yeah.
So and one more thing, I have one follow-up questions, like a lot of people who leave India for whatever master's degree or whatever purposes, right? They usually don't come back, or a very small
Yeah.
population usually return. So I want to curious, what was your driver? You could have started this business, say, in UK or Singapore, wherever you were.
Yeah.
So why India?
So I was, somebody who used to say that I will come back, right? And people used to tell me that, oh, I mean, it's only a matter of time, and when you get there, you get used to the lifestyle and everything, and you won't come back. So I always had that in mind, that I want to go back and do something, in my country. And then the kind of business this is, we have the agriculture part of it is actually a key, part of the business. And it was just more practical and easier for us to do it in India, because me and my co-founder, we are both Indians, and we both understand India better. So from a practical standpoint, it just made sense to start this in India. But from a market standpoint, we never looked at ourselves as an Indian business. I mean, we were always building a global business to supply to the world from India. So that was always the idea. And in fact, we are also incorporated in the UK, but the entire team is in India now.
All right, that's pretty inspiring and good to see, successful people like you returning back and contributing back to the economy and local society. Awesome. Let's switch a little bit, more about Arboreal. So we kind of know it's a stevia company. So give a little bit more background, like what fundamentally problem you guys are tackling, how big is this market, what do you guys precisely do as a product? I know you invested quite a bit in R&D as well, many years of research. Yeah. So kind of talk a little bit about the product and how, the
Sure.
whole journey is and what you're trying to achieve through this company.
Sure. So we are India's first vertically integrated stevia manufacturer. Which means that we do everything end to end, right? From actually growing the plant, working with farmers, to actually extracting the sweet compounds in the form of white powder that you get in the market, and making formulations, for our customers. So everything end to end, right? From cultivation to market access. We do everything, and we control every step of the value chain.
So you guys are your own farms then? Like, do you?
So we do contract farming. We also have our own farms where we have taken some land on lease and we do farming ourselves. And that was not by design, though. We had to do it because, this was a new crop and we had a really hard time convincing farmers to take up a new crop. So we had to kind of take up land and show how it is done, right? So we turned farmers ourselves and literally, prove the model for the farmers, the economics, the yield, everything. And over the last 5 years, we have actually made interventions at every step of this value chain. And we have IP also around, I think, every step of the value chain. So on the agri side, we worked a lot on developing the right variety that had the right content. That involved doing a lot of agronomic trials in different parts of India. Then on the technology side, extracting the compounds from the leaf. Currently, 95% of the stevia is being produced and extracted in China using the exact same technology, which is very polluting. So they use a
Like
lot
it's
of
a,
chemicals and bleaching
you're talking about
agents.
like a global production, 95% comes from China.
Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, wow.
And people don't know it. I mean, people who have been consuming stevia in the US or in Europe. I mean, they have no idea where it is coming from because it just goes through the entire supply chain, and there's just so many steps that it's really difficult to know where it was grown or where is it coming from. So in China, almost every single player is using the exact same technology, which is very, very polluting. So we felt that, I mean, you take something as good as the stevia leaf, and then if you have to process it so much, then that kind of beats the whole purpose of it being a natural sweetener. So we went to the drawing board and we really started from scratch. We said that there has to be a better way of doing this. And we got some very senior scientists, with background in plant biochemistry involved, and we started doing that R&D in parallel while we were working with farmers and working on the farming model. So we managed to develop a technology which is completely organic. We don't use any harmful chemicals in the entire process, and we have commercialized that technology now, and we are scaling it up currently. On the market access side, again, like I said, that there was a lot of scope for innovation, in stevia. So you might have heard of, stevia. I think stevia has been around for a few years, maybe 10 plus years. And people ask us, that what is it that you guys are doing, right? What is the value addition that you guys are doing? And the thing is that if you are familiar with stevia, you would have noticed that it always had an issue with its taste, right? And that is the reason that it took so long for the industry and people to, adopt it. Because otherwise, I mean, it just makes sense, right? It's natural, it's 0 calorie. Why wouldn't people, adopt it readily? But the issue is the taste. So because it's a natural product, it was very difficult to standardize the taste. And it also had some liquorized, lingering aftertaste. Uh, and when you talk to the industry, for example, if Coca-Cola is going to change their recipe, they want a highly standardized product. They want every single bottle around the world to taste exactly the same. And that is why it took so long, right, for people to adopt stevia. So we realized that stevia was not a very simple, food ingredient. It was not just like sugar, that if you want to make something sweet, just add more of it, right? The sweetness doesn't goes up linearly. It was a lot more complicated. So we started studying it, and we realized that there was a lot of food science, that was going into it. That we finally decided to actually set up a food applications lab. So now we have, food technologists and food scientists working with us, and their only job is to ensure that stevia works in different applications. So we really go to the molecular level, that what is there in the mixture and how do you standardize to the molecular level for the application.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think sugar is definitely causing a massive problem around the world, right? It's not just diabetic, but obesity, as you said. And I guess the market should be massive for you. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and so interestingly, our B2C has been going really well, especially during the COVID times. We have seen, a surge in demand. And interestingly, a lot of our early customers and early adopters are actually old people, living in tier 3 and tier 4 cities of India. And we found, and this is something that we did not expect, right? I mean, we were thinking that, our audience would probably be the premium audience, people who are watching their weight, trying to cut calories, people who are on, say, keto diet and stuff like that. But strangely, most of our customers are coming from, remote areas in Orissa, in Jammu, in,
It's like they are
Chhattisgarh.
more health cautious than the urban population then.
Yes, yes. So we're realizing that this is really a product that has a pan-India appeal, and we are getting orders from places that we haven't even heard of.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, then the follow-up question I have, like a lot of audience probably want to know, how can we buy your product?
So it's available on Amazon, it's available on Flipkart, and it's also available on our website. So you can just go to magicleapstevia.com and you can place an order.
So Swati, Magic Leaf Stevia is your consumer brand, and
Yes.
Arboreal is your business B2B brand.
Yeah,
And then you are
correct.
mainly shipping in India only at the moment, correct?
So for Arboreal B2B, we are already talking to some international players. B2C, we are currently only available in India, but interestingly, we are getting a lot of requests from abroad as well. So hopefully, in the coming few months, we will be making it available in other countries as well.
All right, guys. So if anybody in your family has diabetic and anybody hates, sugar, please try Magic Leaf Stevia, available on Amazon, Flipkart, and what was that on your own website, correct?
And the website, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. So let's a little bit talk about your business. Where, like, what stage you are in your business? Like scale wise, any funding you guys had, how many employees you have. Give some
Right.
sense to all of us. How big is your
Right.
business?
So we are in growth stage right now, and we are funded. So we raised 2 rounds. We raised a smaller seed round back in 2016, and then we raised a pre-series A round in 2018 from an institutional investor. So in total, we have raised about 3.5 million US dollars so far. And like I said, we are in the growth phase. We have spent a lot of time, which is actually very unusual for a startup. We uh, did a lot of R&D, in the initial 3-4 years, and it's only been an year and a half since we have started commercializing our technology. So all of that, foundational work that we did initially is coming very handy now. So all of that is done. And currently, we are in the process of scaling up our production. So we are setting up a larger factory and pushing the products in the market, both B2B and B2C.
Yeah, like your business is unlike the software business where somebody can code over the weekend and launch the product one
Yeah,
Monday.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, it requires quite a bit of R&D and effort. So great job kind of putting, having the patience and putting many years work to get the product out. And where are you located in India, Swati? I mean, your business.
So we are incorporated in Delhi and Lucknow. So currently, most of our operations are based out of Lucknow, and the entire team is here as well.
All right, awesome. And I'm not sure you mentioned how many employees you guys have altogether. I mean, office staff
So
and probably a lot of, field worker.
yeah, so about 32 full-time employees and about 250 workers.
Wow, that's pretty good
Yeah,
scale already.
yeah, and we are
All right.
hiring right now as well.
Okay, you're hiring. What kind of role you're hiring for? And how
So we are
can maybe,
hiring.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So interestingly, we have actually we touch wood. We were in a position to actually support all our employees, so we didn't have to let anyone go during COVID. In fact, we have expanded and we have added 4 new people to the team during this period. Currently, we are looking for somebody for a brand management and marketing role. So it's also live on LinkedIn, the job posting.
All right, guys, anybody in marketing interested to work for Swati, please check out their LinkedIn, company's LinkedIn profile and the role they have. All right, awesome. Good to know about Arboreal and your business, Swati. Now I want to get some cool tips from you. So tell me a little bit about like what has been your biggest challenge, starting this business to date, and how did you overcome and solve the challenge?
Right. There have been so many challenges. I'm just thinking which one to pick. Um,
Yeah,
but
I
you
can
know,
understand as a startup, we have to go through probably thousands of challenges.
yeah, exactly. Every day is a new challenge. But overall, I think the agri part has been the most challenging because that's something where there are just so many things that are out of your control. There's just so many variables. And no matter how much money you have, you can't control everything. So even funding is not a solution there. So it's not like you can pivot overnight. If one trial goes wrong, you can just pivot overnight and do it again. right? It's like you lose a season. So you have to wait for another 6 months or another year if something goes wrong. So that has been quite challenging. The kind of challenges that come with agri operations are also very different from, I think, any other business. For example, uh, there was an incident where one of our employees actually had an accident while he was going back from the farms. And we both started from the same farm, and we left a bit early, and he was coming, he left probably 15-20 minutes later. And as we reached the city, we got a call from someone from his number, talking from his number, saying that there has been an accident and he's unconscious. And we were also scared, and we didn't know what to do. And then we asked this guy that who are you and where did you find him and all those things. And then we found out that he was actually an ambulance driver, and they were taking him to the nearest hospital in an ambulance. And our employee was actually not even in a position to talk. He was unconscious. And we were asking this guy repeatedly that, is he okay? I mean, is he even alive, right? And this guy was not saying anything. He was like, yeah, he's hurt, but he's unconscious. We don't know. And we were, I mean, that 1 hour, was probably the most difficult, 1 hour for me so far, until he reached the hospital, and we reached the hospital as well. And when we reached there, thankfully, he had been hit on his head. He was wearing a helmet, so that was a savior. And he had been unconscious, but he was fine. There was no fracture or anything. He just had like some external injuries that were not very major. But really, I mean, that 1 hour was really, really difficult. I remember like pacing up and down and thinking about all sorts of scenarios, and then somehow we were holding ourselves responsible, right? Because we are the employees, and he was coming back from a farm, after doing his job. So that was very difficult. And after that, we had to put like some processes in place that you cannot drive on a bike, when it's dark, and you can't go to another city, or you can't go beyond a certain distance when it's dark, so things like that.
Yeah,
So these are the challenges that we never expected that we would see.
Yeah, as a startup, right? It's just as a family for us as a founder, right? And
Yeah.
everybody in the family, we definitely get concerned. Well, I'm glad he's fine. And yeah, in agri world, and I don't think your family has any agriculture or farming background, right? You're doing first science.
No. Yeah, no, I mean, no agri background, but thankfully my dad is a scientist, and his area of research has been plants.
Okay,
So
that's
he,
good.
so he is obviously familiar with this world, and we did get a lot of help from him as well in the initial days.
Right. So now I have two questions. I want to get some tips from you. So what is your one, most important tip to all the aspiring entrepreneurs? A lot of people in our community, planning to start their companies, and give them one most important tip. What do you believe is very important for them to know?
Right. If it had to be just one tip, it will be a very cliche advice, which is that you have to be persistent. I mean, that is the most important thing. I mean, if I had to pick one thing, it is going to be, persistence. I've seen a lot of people actually starting out and then, giving up midway. But that's just not how entrepreneurship works. There will always be challenges. Every day brings new challenges, and that is why it's also important to know why you are starting out. If you are basically starting out for the right reasons, because if you don't know that, then you are not going to be able to sustain for very long. So it could be money also. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having that as motivation. It could be making an impact. It could be getting fame. It could be anything. But you need to know what is it that you are going after, right? And then really persist. no matter what comes.
Yeah, that's so true, Swati. As a startup, because you're gonna face so many challenges every day, and if you're not persistent and you don't know that why reason, strongly why you
Exactly.
start this business, right? It's very hard to keep the motivation.
Yeah.
So great tip. And another, like, you are such an inspiring, woman entrepreneur, and in our, IIT Dhanbad community, there are a lot of, women students and, alumni. And what's your tip for them? I don't think we have many, women entrepreneurs in our community. So
Right.
give some specific tip for them as well.
Uh, yeah, I mean, yes, we don't have a lot of women entrepreneurs in our community, but then we also don't have a lot of women in our community, right? I
Yeah,
think
that's very
it's
unfortunate. Hopefully things are changing, especially my
yeah,
area.
they are. They are. I think when I was in on campus last year, I mean, students were telling me that the ratio has improved significantly, so that's good news. But really, as a tip to the current students or the alumni, I think women who come to ISM, they are really smart already, right? It's really about being able to make that choice and having the courage to take the plunge. And one of the good things, there's also, I'm sure you are also seeing that there's a lot of debate going around well, that how IITians and people from IIMs get preference when it comes to fundraising in India, and people don't seem to be happy about it. But I think one advantage that you really have when you go to a college like IIT is that you have a safety net, right? You don't have much to lose. So even if you could quit everything, you try out something, doesn't works out, you can always go back. You have those basic skills, you have that network, you have that degree that you can bank upon. So I think that's a very big advantage. And for people like us who have been privileged to go to IITs, I think that is the biggest advantage we have, that we can take that risk. You know.
So your tip is like, go take risk. It's not that
Yeah,
risky.
go do it. Go do it. You have a safety net. What is the worst that can happen? It wouldn't work out, but even in that case, you can always go back.
All right. I think we're going to take a few more minutes, Swati. I want to ask you some rapid fire questions.
Right.
What's your favorite book?
My favorite book. So I'm not I'm not much into fiction. So I read a lot of autobiographies, biographies, and non-fiction management related books. So I like Shoe Dog a lot, which is the Nike's story. It's a very interesting and very gripping book.
Okay, that's a pretty good book.
Yeah.
And my second question is, who is your most inspiring person? Like, who do you look at?
Right. So
Is
there
it
are a couple of people. I idolize Bill Gates a lot. His entire story, the way he started being a techie himself, creating this empire, and now, doing the philanthropic work that he's doing. So I really, really idolize him.
awesome? And we have a lot of festivals in India. What's your most
Yeah.
favorite festival?
Festival. I like Diwali quite a lot because I usually try to spend it with my family, and that's just a good time to forget about all the worries and everything, and just have a good time with family.
Awesome. And the last question, when you were in ISM or IIT Dhanbad,
Yeah.
what was your favorite spot to hang out in the campus?
Right. I would say our hostel, because I remember that, during those days, people used to be, all our friends used to be like dating, and then everybody would be like all around the campus. But after 9 p.m., because we had the same time, everybody was forced to come back to the hostel. And I think those sessions are something that I still cherish, just sitting all of us and just talking about random things, laughing. So yeah,
And which
hostel,
hostel were you in?
Ruby Hostel.
Well, but nowadays I heard there are multiple women hostels in campus, right?
Yeah. So there was, so back then there was Ruby 1 and Ruby 2 and Ruby Extension. Extension was the new construction
Okay.
that was done. So we were in Ruby Extension. Uh, so yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Hostel room was the best, was my favorite spot.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for your time and sharing your story with the community, Swati. I really enjoyed it, and I hope our audience
Likewise.
really gonna learn some good stuff about you and your startup and get some tips from watching this video. So yeah,
Yeah,
thanks a
I hope
lot.
they
Thanks for
find it
joining.
useful.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for joining us, Swati.
Great. Thank you so much.